Okay, here we go. I'm going to go through the process of putting an Fmod sound into an animation in Unity. Sorry for the noise on the mic. I know that the mic setup that I've got, it's not ideal. It's picking up quite a bit of background noise, but I will nonetheless proceed. So let's say we've got some sounds here. These are individual sounds of like a breath that I got from editing them down in Reaper and making individual breaths. So I've got 6 breaths here from a single source file, and I've got Fmod ready. I'm just going to get these sounds in there, and now I've got a playlist of breath sounds. It's like an exhalation. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, well, you can see it's named Ellen underscore emote. I'm going to just build that so that the files are sent to Unity and that bit is done. And yeah, I'm going to find the animations in Unity to start off with. So Unity has these animation files, hopefully you can see on the screen. It's like a little green triangle, and there's like some whoosh arrows before the little green triangle in Unity. You can see them down here. So I'm just going to use these ones to insert these kind of sighs from our character, just to give a bit of life, to literally breathe a bit of life when our character makes those movements. And these files here, which I should be able to preview, yeah, so there's a bit of movement there, so it might be nice to insert some cloth sounds and some movement sounds to give our character a bit of weight. But I'm just going to use the breath for now. I'm just demonstrating how to do this. We're going to be targeting these files here, and these are read-only files. They're .fbx file, which I think is from Blender. So you can see that if we just expand down the bottom, it's a .fbx file. So I'm going to just duplicate them all, and then you can see it turns into a .anim file. And then I'm just going to rename it with my initials at the end. I'm going to do that for each of them. And if anyone knows a way around this, do let me know. This might be due to a lack of my knowledge in Unity. However, I've seen online that a lot of people are doing the same thing, whereby they're not able to do anything with these read-only .fbx files from Blender, so they're duplicating them and they become, I suppose, Unity native .anim files that are editable. So this is now editable. If I just make a bit of room here, the ones that are initialed are .anim files now, and they're editable. So with the new animation selected, let me just see if I can, a bit of, can I squeeze that across a bit more? Okay, maybe not. Everything kind of gets quite bunched up. But this button here, let me just hover so that it highlights, is an add event button. So we can add an event on here. If I just click this, you'll see a tiny little blue arrow appear in the animation. Now it's really hard to see, but it is down there and it's blue, which helps. And it does appear to be selected by default. So if I click off of it, it'll go white. But if I click it, you'll see that there's an animation event in the inspector. And this is great because this enables us to add some functionality in here, so that we can call this function and point this animation event to an fmod string, which essentially will play the sound. So what you would do to add that functionality in would be to add a new script, and we could do that from the character prefab. So the character prefab would actually be the name of the character. So that would be Ellen. Let me just see if I can find the prefab. There's a lot of stuff going on here. And here we go. I've got some other stuff going on in here. But here's where I've added what I call the fmod player, which you would just do by adding a new script, and you'd name it fmod player. So let me just see if I can open this in Visual Studio just to give you a look at what's actually going on in there. And this script is added to the L in the character prefab, and essentially that is being called when the animation reaches that event. It's very simple. It's just a little kind of container, if you like, for the function to play the one-shot string that's entered into that string path from the animation. So that's essentially what the script is and where it lives. And it would be a good idea, of course, to make sure that script is in the scripts folder in Unity, because it might not appear there when you generate it by default. So just make sure you move it across there. You can see you might need to have a few different windows open to be able to move things around quite easily in Unity. So we've got our play one shot code ready in the script. So once you save that, that script is actually ready. So let's go back to our animations. I'm going to go onto the first one again and just make sure that we can see this again. So this is actually ready to call the script, but we need to type in play sound to do that. And we need the string, which is the event from Fmod. So if I type in the audio event, I call it emote, I can select it. Now, the view gets quite fiddly with this Fmod. This Fmod events window is kind of clunky, so a lot of the time you can't even see the top bit here, it gets hidden. So just make sure that's expanded into the hierarchy or wherever you've got it docked. I prefer to keep the inspector clear because, you know, it's quite important. And here you can see the full path. I'm just going to copy that path there, and I'm going to paste it into the string bit here, so that that event in the animation is going to call that Fmod sound. And let me just audition this. Cool. So we can hear the breath in Unity, so we know that that's coming through, because if it's not, it means that there's maybe something wrong in Fmod. So that's all good. And unfortunately, we can't see the animation. That once we duplicate it in Unity, we can't actually see what's going on, which is a bit strange, and there might be a workaround for that. If anyone knows the answer, do let me know. But I'm just going to move the keyframe into the animation a bit. What you could do, I suppose, is go back and look at the original animation and just scrub through that. Let's see, do I need to select something? I'm not sure why that's not updating. Or I could just play here. So there's a few footsteps that would actually be good to get into the animation, but I'm just going to put it in the middle because she kind of turns her head there, and that might be a good point to make that sigh. So I'm just going to drag it right about there and just see how we get on with that. Now, in order for this animation to actually be used, it needs to be inserted in the main animation controller. So let me just see if I can get back to the main. So the main animation controller is going to have a different symbol. It's got one of these, it's like a little two squares connected by green lines. It kind of makes a bigger like square. That's the image for an animation controller. It's different to an animation itself, which is like a triangle. This is more of like a square with a couple of nodes. It's basically trying to give you like an image of like something like this happening in the game, and usually they're in a sensible location. So they would be in a folder called animators, because these are essentially animators. They're .controller files, but they're animators, and they will control the animation logic for whichever character you've selected. So some of the characters have very simple animations, for example, because they're just swimming characters. Others have walk, run states, their aggro states and their idle states, and they might attack, and they might kind of fall or whatnot. So it's the same with our main character. So if we look at our main character now, it's not really obvious here how we update the main animator or the .controller, ln.controller, to reference the animation file that we duplicated and inserted the Fmod sound. But you just kind of have to look at it and kind of make an educated guess as to where, okay, the random idle emote events are probably going to live in idle, right? And if you click it, nothing happens. So if you double click that, then you go in here, and this is where you actually see how the idle animations are randomly or sequentially selected. And if you click on one, you can actually see where it's referencing the event. So I only inserted that keyframe on random idle 1 underscore my initials. So I'm just going to go and quickly just take a look at the other idle events. Yeah, I'm just going to really quickly make sure that that's pasting the same event, and I'll just do this with number 3 as well without even checking what, well, I can have a quick check on what happens there. Yeah, just so that we have updates on all of these 3 idle events. So I'm just going to go here now. I'm clicking in the actual animator window because obviously it defaults to scene or something else. So just make sure you've got the animator window selected. You've selected the character that you want to change the animations for, and you've found the node that corresponds to the individual animations. Double click there. I'm going to update these, and because I'm using my initials, it should be pretty easy to find the new animations that I've made. They're actually right under the ones that are there already because I have added my initials at the end. So just keep everything nice and functional, and that should work. Really, there's not a whole lot else. There might be different views in here when you dive into a like an idle view. You might get like a blend layer, something that looks a bit more like this. But essentially, you should still be able to change the animations. And in the blend layer, you just click on the tree, and you're going to see the kind of referencing animations in the kind of parent tree rather than the child animations. So yeah, there's usually always a way of changing it. So now that I've actually done that, I'm just going to go and play the scene, and let's see what happens. Do we get our psi event? And if not, the first thing I'll be checking is maybe in Fmod it's just not loud enough. So this is the event here. Just waiting for the idle animation to happen because there'll be a timer on there, and it needs to trigger. Cool. Okay, so it worked. It was quite subtle, but we heard a little sigh there, and that will randomly select again every time there because it's in the animation. So I hope you found that useful. Any questions on that, let me know. Sorry for that sharp burst of sound there. Cool. Talk to you later.